Well, it's Wednesday, and you all know what that means. As you know, New Japan Pro Wrestling continues with more of the best of the Super Juniors. Now, we're in day three. However, for some odd reason, they decided to split the blocks now. Now, the first 2 days, it features both the A block and the B block in the same shows. However, for day three, they added, of course, only the A blocks in their matches. As for the wrestlers involved in the B block, well, they will have preview matches. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to focus on the A block matches only. And then, of course, we move on with AEW Dynamite. As you know, the EVPs continue the rampage in control of AEW because, as you know, Eddie Kingston was attacked on New Japan. And now, what's the future for the Anarchy in the Arena? Well, we're just going to find out. We also, of course, have the contract signing for the AEW Women's title and various more things happening as well. But first things first, we're going to do for the first time ever a review from a promotion that I have heard of, but not even once since I became a fan, started watching Japanese wrestling, I ever got the chance to review it. And this is from a promotion based out of Osaka, Japan called Osaka Pro Wrestling or just simply Osaka Pro. So this is the first time ever that I get to do this. So we'll see how this one goes. And then, of course, we cap up with this, of course, episode with some news updates, give you guys updates on what's going on in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events the promotions are thrown out, who's booked, what matches are set, and of course some interesting developments. But one of the biggest developments is CyberFight. As you know, they had a recent press conference, and I think some of you are going to find it very, very interesting. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is the channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, such as in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world where pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also do more news updates. If I'm unable to put it on this episode, I can put it on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-timing news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of pro wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also do the United Sayaka Watch and various other cool things as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us or click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or leave us a nice comment in the description down below. Now, all introductions have now been said. I believe it's time to get this show on the road, and I'm so happy because I get to do this for the first time ever to make this first review, and this one is from Osaka Pro Wrestling. Okay, Osaka Pro Wrestling, or just simply Osaka Pro. Now, this is my first time actually reviewing it. Now, I know some of you may not have heard of this promotion, but let me give you guys a brief, you know, history of this. This promotion was founded in 1998 by a guy named Super Delphine. The promotion had major flag events such as Hurricane Osaka Hurricane that happened between 2003 to 2012, and then also held the fourth edition of the Super J Cup, which held in 2004. And then, of course, they've in 2010 they started having a working relationship with the promotion here in the States called Shikara. Now, however, in March of 2014, they were announcing there would be folding due to financial difficulties. But however, the promotion decided to become more of a freelance promotion, basically wrestlers who are freelancers and all of this and that. And then, of course, in 2021, it was announced a wrestler who I have seen in All Japan Pro Wrestling named Zeus has been appointed the as the owner and president of the company. So he was there in All Japan until his contract was out, and then of course had to take the reins in the promotion. Now, what I'm going to review is a much recent show that took place on the 11th of May, but it wasn't broadcast until the 13th. So let's talk about that. Now, many of these wrestlers I may not have heard of, but some I have. First match we have Tetsuya Goto versus Toru. Now, I don't know much about these guys, but it was a very interesting match. I mean, Goto has a bit of the speed advantage, while Toru had the powerhouse advantage. So that kind of played out pretty well. But of course, with Toru with the powerhouse, he used the brainbuster to pick up the win. Now, our next match, we had a very interesting six-man tag match. We have Billy Ken Kid, um, Ultimate Spider Jr., and then Tiger's Mask taking on Hub, Take, Takoyoki, that's his name, and then Yudo Kikuchi. So basically, I don't know most of these wrestlers. The only one I do know is Hub. He is, of course, the favorite of the late Hana Kimura. So Hana Kimura was a big fan of Hub. So he may have heard of it, may have known about that. But yeah, but I wasn't too sure about this match because, like I said, I only know one person in this particular match, and that was Hub. And ironically, Hub was the one who picked up the win. Of course, he did something. I'm not sure. He did a crucifix bomb on Tiger's Mask, and I thought it was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. So he picked up the win. You probably would think, oh, he's the fan favorite. Yeah. Now, our next match, we had a very interesting six-man tag match. Well, we have one female involved in this one, and it's, of course, Osaka's very own Momoka Hanazono. She teams up with the Bodyguard, and of course, Kuishinbo Kamen. They take on QC Ninja Ramun, Joichu Osaka, and of course, Ebisan. Now, I don't know who more of these guys. I am familiarized with Momoka's team that much. I mean, I just recently saw Kuishimbo recently in Choco Pro, and he won his match. and I thought it was a pretty fun. But there was some interesting fun moments in this match, especially when it comes. Now, I mention all the time when it comes to Momoka Hanazono, she's a freaking terror in the ring. Now, I'm not saying she's a villain. I'm saying that she does these unorthodox ways to pick up the win and all, or try to do crazy maneuvers or whatever. But it played out pretty well. But I have to say, Momoka, the Bodyguard, and Koishimbo Cohesion was very well received. But it was, of course, Momoka with the double foot stomp onto Ebi-san and just picked up the win for her team. Now, our main event, this one is another six-man tag match. We have Aranzano, Ruya Matsufusa, and of course the owner and boss of Osaka Pro, Zeus, take on the Rogue Nation, Goliath, Yatsutaka Osai, and Quiet Storm. Well, you guys may know Quiet Storm. He's been mostly showing up in, of course, in GLEAT. Was very interesting. So basically, they're like the heel faction of this whole thing. Fans don't like these guys, but of course there were gonna be some moments where guys like them will try to find ways to pick up the wins. What they did, because it was Osaya picked up the win by applying a low blow onto Sano and then applying a pinfall to pick up the win. And then, of course, the Osaka natives of wrestling actually showed up to deal with, of course, with Rogue Nation. Now, what I thought about this, about this event that we guys playing, I have to say, I think it's pretty cool that there is a promotion, even if it's small. The venue was in an outdoor event in a shrine, temple or something. I'm like, shrine outside the temple, not bad. I think it was pretty interesting. But even if you may not know these wrestlers, it's very understandable. I only knew a few of them that were in this one, like Hub, Momokana Zono, the Bodyguard, Kuishimbo Kamen, and then of course there was Zeus, who I seen in All Japan, and then Quiet Storm. Not a lot of wrestlers I know who they are, but it's okay. If I continue to watch more of Osaka Pro, then I'll be fine. But this is my first time, guys. I'm still getting to know more about them. So we'll see what happens in the future if I continue to review more about them. But right now, let's move on with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Okay, we continue with more of New Japan Pro Wrestling Best of the Super Juniors. We're now in day 3. Now, um, I'm not going to focus on, I'm just going to focus on the second half of the entire event because they only have the matches for the A block only. Now, I know probably people would say, could you just watch the other ones? Yes, but I feel like they're just preludes of what to come. But I feel this is more important than watching the entirety of the show. That way we could understand more because I feel like we should focus on that. Now, let's talk all the matches. There are only 5 matches in the A block. Our first match, we have Kosa Fujita versus Kevin Knight. Um, Kind of figured this match was going to happen due to the fact that they both are tied equally with 1 win and 1 loss, which is normal. But however, someone has to break the tiebreaker on that. Because of Fujita, I'm not going to lie that he, as you know, watching him grow up, learning a lot from Zack Sabre Jr. has helped him. But however, we know Kevin Knight's mentor is none other than Kushida. But I have to say he played out pretty well in his training and learned a lot. But he picked up his next win when he defeated Kosa Fujita, when he spiked him with the DDT, allowing himself to pick up his next 2 points, going by 4 points. And of course, his record is now 2-1, 2 wins and 1 loss. As for Kosa Fujita, he has only 1 win and 2 losses. But we'll see how far he progresses. Now, our next match, we have Yoshinobu Kanemaru versus Blake Christian. Now, these 2 guys, well, I figured they would probably cheat each other out. I don't think it matters, because these guys are 2 of the most hated individuals on the planet. Now, the real question is, how was this going to be? We know that Kanemaru has the whiskey bottle. That would have been a fair play for him to use. But Christian, he likes to do things differently, such as distract the referee, low blowing, and then recently we saw that that he used a brass knuckles. That would have been the one thing it helped. But however, he did kind of low blowed Kanemaru, and then of course did a 450 splash, giving him his next 2 points. Now, here's the crucial part of the record. Kanemaru only has 2 points, meaning he is now in two losses, 2 losses and 1 win. So he's at the bottom. But as for Blake Christian, he is currently undefeated with 6 points. He has no losses. Now, keep in mind, things could change throughout the tournament as we progress. So he may or may not be staying undefeated for long. Now, our next match, we have Hayata versus Titan. I think this match was going to be pretty good. Now, we know that Hayata has been one of the most well-decorated junior heavyweight competitors in All Japan. Not only because he is a 3-time junior heavyweight champion, but at the same time, he is one of the best. but there once in a while he'll try to cheat his way through in order to do so. But he faces against Titan, a very talented wrestler out of Mexico. But you would think, how will Titan overcome a guy like him? Well, he overcome them by applying the Llave Immortal, giving him his next next 2 points, and leading him to 6 points in total. Much like Blake Christian, he's also undefeated. But as I said before, things can change as we progress in further down the road in the tournament. So he may not be undefeated for long, but only time will tell. But as for Hayata, he is currently now with 2 points, with of course 2 losses and 1 win. Now our next match, well, another case of the student versus teacher, TJP versus Clark Connors. Now, if you guys remember clearly, many years ago, TJP turned his back on the Young Lions, and this is before Clark Connors embraced the way of Bullet Club War Dogs. As you know, Clark Connors had dealt with them. But however, this is a very interesting thing. You probably would think that Clark Connors would tell TJP, "Hey, dickhead, let's see how much you have taught me, and I can kick your ass." And I think that's pretty much what's going on. But however, TJP, he is currently without a win. He has already lost his first 2 matches, no points. As for Connors, he already had 1 win so far. But the real question is, could he overcome against his former mentor? Well, you can say he did, because apparently the ref was out, and then later he had tried to cheat his way through. But he did apply the no chaser, giving him the win, giving him his next 2 points with 4 points, giving him the record of 2 wins and 1 loss. As for TJP, this is not a good start for him with just 0 points. This is very, very, very uncool. But we'll see what happens from here now. I mean, things can change, as I said, as we progress in the tournament. Now, our next match, Battle of the Masked Men. We have Bushi taking on El Desperado, or I was just call him Despy. So you would think this is going to be a very interesting match. Yes, I have to say, I mean, these two guys do have a Mexican flair in their gimmick and all that. I mean, that would make sense. But however, I kind of felt that this match was going to go with Despy, because we cannot deny the fact that, of course, what Chris Carlton mentioned, El Desperado has never won the best of the Super Juniors before. I mean, he could be one of those potential wrestlers that could go all the way to win it. But he has to go through Bushi right now, and that's exactly what he did. But it only took his move numero dos to seal the deal for him and pick up his next 2 points. Right now, he is in with a 2 win and 1 loss, so that means he has a total of 4 points. As for Bushi, well, he has, much like TJP, 0 wins. So, I mean, this is very, very interesting. I don't think Bushi has ever won the best of Super Juniors, but we'll see. But as I said before, things can change as we progress further down with the best of the Super Juniors. But we'll see where that leads us. But as you know, we will have the next the B block matches in the next New Japan show, and I think that will be in the next episode. So we'll see where that goes from there. But as of right now, I believe it's time to do our last and final review, AEW Dynamite. Alright, AEW Dynamite. It opened up with the BCC, Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson taking on Jeff Cobb and Kyle Fletcher. Now, I'm going to presume this is orders from Don Callis to attack Jon Moxley, because, as you know, he injured Powerhouse Hobbs. But, of course, they have to overcome 2 of the strongest competitors. I mean, Jeff Cobb is no joke. However, it's no secret that Jeff Cobb was brought in here because the last time he was used a deal with Jon Moxley was when Jericho at the time was the AEW World Champion, if you guys remember that clearly. So I'm sure that was part of Don Callis' plan. But you would think it would do something different, would make a difference. It did not. Fortunately, Kyle Fletcher ended up in the Death Rider, and just like that, it was over. However, during the post-match, Takeshita suplexed John and decided to, of course, attack him, and then Claudio Castagnoli showed up with a crowbar. Now keep in mind, Takeshita has his sights set on Moxley for the IWGP World Heavyweight title. So we will be getting to that match soon enough. Now, Adam Copeland was about to make his way to the ring until he was viciously attacked by the House of Black, which was a very bizarre and tactical maneuver. However, Kyle O'Reilly showed up to give him a hand, but however, he took a beating thanks to, of course, Brody King. And then all of a sudden, for some odd reason, Malachi Black took his wedding ring. Now, we know the kind of person Malachi Black is, but the real question is, why? Why would he take his wedding ring? It made no absolute sense why. But, of course, the mind games continue. He even mentioned more about that. But we'll see where that leads us from there. Now, bad news for what to come in Double or Nothing. As you know, Eddie Kingston had a match back in New Japan Pro Wrestling this past weekend. Apparently, he got hurt and he is unable to compete. So that is the one thing that was updated. But however, the Elite decided to make mockness, saying that, TAEW, you may have to either go in a 3-man way or just simply forfeit. So basically, they think they won. But however, FTR actually said they're not going to give in to their demands. And of course, they made it clear that the Bucks are not their EVPs. But they said they may have a 4th member. I'm like thinking, how did they find a 4th member that fast? But that's what they said. I'm sure the Elite are thinking they're lying. There is no 4th member. Now, speaking of the Bucks, they make their way down to the ring because they face Matt Sydal and Christopher Daniels. Now, this match happened because of what happened last week. Now, if you guys remember, Christopher Daniels was trying to maintain the peace in AEW until, of course, Nick Jackson and Matt Jackson were abusing their power, trying to tell him why did he get himself involved in their business. But of course, they got Daniels snapped back and tried to get in their face, and then this match happened. And of course, like always, what comes with the Bucks, they cheat their way through, and then they apply the TK driver onto Daniels. And then, of course, the Bucks decided to fire Daniels for putting his hands on Matt. And of course, they told security to escort him out. I mean, it's rather BS, but sooner or later, Daniels will get revenge somehow. With the Bucks continue to abuse their power, they're not safe. Not to mention, Jack Perry decided to spill this energy drink all over Shivani. One way or the other, Shivani has to punch Jack Perry to teach him a lesson, but we'll see where that leads us from here on out. Now, during an interview with Tony Storm, as you know what happened, Harley Cameron was attacked, of course, Mariah May. However, Tony Storm was not happy, and then, of course, she says that it was a good thing last week that she got punched out by Serena because she did not want to hear her sad story, and she thinks that she'll beat her. But we'll see what happens until we get there. Now, we do see Hook taking on a guy named Sebastian Wolf. And, of course, as always, he defeated him by applying the Red Rum. And then he called out, of course, Jericho. Here comes Jericho with Big Bill. And, of course, Jericho continues to try to tell him to join his learning tree. Hook refuses, and it became a 2-on-1 situation until Shibata showed up. However, we did see an interview with Shibata and Hook. Of course, Hook wants another crack at Jericho and another shot of the FTW title. Same thing with Shibata. And then, of course, Joe decided to get involved in his business, and Hook is getting very agitated with, people getting involved. Try to it's like everybody's out looking for a fight against him. But yeah. Now, our next match, we have Swerve versus Brian Cage. This is the finishing touches to end the Mogul Embassy after what they did to him 2 weeks ago. As you guys remember, the Mogul... Well, was it? No. Was it last week? Yeah. Last week, the Mogul Embassy turned on Swerve, and they beat him to the pulp. And, of course, seeing Christian enjoying what he saw. And then, of course, he has to deal with Brian Cage. But the real question is, could he overcome a guy like Cage? Well, he did when he applied the house call, and it was over. And then, of course, Christian Cage once again showed up, but unaware. Nick Wayne who was behind him, and then he brought in a picture frame of Swerve, of his daughter, and I'm going to presume his wife or girlfriend, and whacked him in the head as poetic justice for Nick Wayne after what happened at his house. And then, of course, Christian Cage continues to say that he'll take everything from him. He is 100% confident that he'll walk out of Double or Nothing as the AEW World Champion. But as for Swerve, he's not going to let that happen. Now, Toni Storm, we have her against, of course, Harley Cameron. Out of nowhere, Serena Deeb watches this match. But for a little bit, Toni Storm gets distracted, giving Harley Cameron, of course, time to utilize it. But however, Toni Storm overcame that match until she applied Storm Zero. But the interesting thing I forgot to mention is Mariah May, Luther, along with Sareee were banned from ringside. So luckily there was no distractions. But I'm sure Toni Storm does not like the fact that Serena Deeb is there now watching. So it must have agitated her completely. Now before we head to, of course, Double or Nothing for the International Championship match, Will Ospreay confronts, of course, Roderick Strong. He tells him, that that he will not deny how talented he is, but he will say that you had no respect for me when I was in Ring of Honor, PWG, and all this other stuff. And of course, he tells him that he is in another level, but Roderick Strong doesn't believe that he'll walk out as, of course, as the international champion. I mean, who knows? But we'll see where that leads us from here and there. Now, of course, we have the contract signing with Mercedes Moné and Willow Nightingale. Of course, they had their thing to say. And, of course, the feud with them that leads back to New Japan during the New Japan Strong Women's title continues on with it. Of course, they had some things to say. And then, of course, we did see Mercedes slap Willow. And then, of course, she Dr. Bomb Mercedes through a table, sending a direct message saying that, of course, that she'll walk out as the winner. Now, our main event, we have Kazuchika Okada versus Dax Harwood. I thought this match was amazing because it was exactly like I would have hoped for. Straight up match. But however, of course, Okada decided to bring in the belt to distract the ref and then low blow Dax and then applied the Rainmaker to pick up the win. However, of course, in the post-match, the Elite show up to try to take out Dax Harwood to ensure that this anarchy in the arena does not happen. Wheeler and, of course, Bryan Danielson showed up to stop them. But however, we had an unexpected visitor, and he may be the fourth member of Team AEW, and that is, of course, Darby Allin. I don't think the Bucks did not expect it. The last time they saw them was at Revolution, where Sting retired. And I'm sure they did not expect to see him. But he is. And I'm sure they are pissed as hell knowing that they're back. But of course, many people say he is the luckiest SOB because he got hit by a bus. And now this is happening. Well, of course, he doesn't seem like 100%. But who's going to stop him? So we'll see what happens. But I think many of us are happy how this turned out. We'll see where it leads us next week. And then all the way to AEW Double or Nothing. But right now, I think we just end things right here with our reviews. Let's move on with our news updates. Okay, welcome to our news update. So let's begin with the promotions themselves on their upcoming events. Now, as you know, later on this month, on the 24th of May, the House of Glory has the War Within. They just announced a women's tag match will be taking place. We have team number 1, we have Sex Star and Reina Dorada versus Violet and Diamond. And then, of course, MLW has announced on June 1st for the Battle Riot 4, we have Stingray. That's right, guys. Stingray is back, and he will be in Paul Walter Hausen will be in Battle Riot. So I'm looking forward to see how this is going to go. Now, finally, GCW, as you know, they announced for their upcoming show known as Don't Tell Me What to Do in Indianapolis on the 20th of July. 4 names have been now confirmed they will be participating. We have Nick Effin Gage, Mance Warner, Spider Nate, and Hoodfoot. So these are the names that are now been announced for that. Now let's talk about interesting developments that are going around. Now, Sareee has went on her YouTube channel and announced a very interesting thing. As you know, she has a self-produced show known as Sareeism. She just announced there's going to be Chapter 4 and Chapter 5 taking place, but both shows will take place in Shinjuku Face. However, Chapter 4 will take place on the 29th of July, as for Chapter 5 on September 2nd. Now, they haven't announced who will be participating. I'm sure Sareee will announce that as we get closer and closer to these events. Now, an interesting development has happened. If you guys remember when Kamitani came back, Saya Kamitani, she showed up in a red outfit in her wrestling gear. Now, many of you probably ask yourselves, why did she show up in red? Well, she kind of explained it why. Let me pull that up for all of you. Here it is. She said this: I chose red to symbolize that I carry Utami-san's feelings on my shoulders, and that I haven't given up on the red belt yet. And most of all, it represents my desire to stand at the forefront of Queen's Quest and lead it. For that reason, I will continue to defend this belt. So basically, she has, as you know, is trying to carry the feelings of her tag partner Tommy by her side, but also still aiming for the red belt. So that is still a goal for her to do. So it's pretty admirable of her. Now, a very interesting development. Now, as you know, with MARIGOLD have been launched, many of you probably would ask about the championship belts. Well, this is a very interesting thing. They haven't revealed brand new belts, the MARIGOLD championships. But however, this is a very interesting one. Now, if you guys know this, Stardom has the red belt and the white belt. The red belt is the World of Stardom, and the white belt, the Wonder of Stardom. Well, that concept of red and white continues on in MARIGOLD. I don't know why, but if you want to know the colors, well, red does represents the world, and as for white, the United National. I don't know why, but it's kind of interesting that Rossi decided to keep that concept. Don't ask me why, but it's rather not weird, but more interesting that he decides to keep it that way. Who knows? Now, AEW Warner Brothers Discovery. This was reported by Fightful Select. It appears that Warner Brothers are interested in having AEW pay-per-views added onto the Max streaming service. Now, there's been these two sides have been talking about this for quite a while. Now, some of you may ask, how can we watch AEW pay-per-views? Well, I know you can cite on the Bleacher Report and possibly Thriller Fight, Thriller TV. So those are the options. So it looks more like Discovery really wants to add those pay-per-views in Max on the Max streaming service. So we'll see what happens from here on out. Now, 2 reports have come around about Tam Nakano on sports, on Tokyo Sports. One of them involves Mercedes Moné. Now, some of you may question what is about that. Well, apparently Tam has forgotten. If you guys remember last year in Wrestle Kingdom of 2023, Mercedes Moné showed up and stole the show. So basically, Tam has a bit of a grudge. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if somehow there's going to be a match between Tam and Mercedes at Forbidden Door. Now, many people would have presumed that Tam Nakano would have had an opportunity to show up at Forbidden Door in next month, but I don't know. We could see that. Now, there were some Tam Nakano continues on. There were some remarks about the whole thing with Cosmic Angels and Starlight Kid and the dangers of splitting up, because people were questioning her. Why are you hanging out with Starlight Kid? You know you can cause a problem. I mean, Natsupoi felt that Tam is kind of like did what she did with Mina or something. I don't know, but it wasn't that. She basically she's finding offensive that people are thinking that way. So I don't blame her. I mean, I feel that maybe their history between both Kid and Tam has been unresolved in some ways. Like I've always think with Natsupoi, it was also an unresolved relationship. If you guys remember what happened with Natsupoi and Tam, Tam texted Natsupoi and told her that she was leaving At Risk Girls, and this put her. It was kind of like when you break up with someone via text, and you know that that's the coldest thing for anyone to do. I think that was what it is, but somehow Tam and Natsupoi were able to resolve their past, and I feel that maybe Tam was doing the same thing too. But she's not forcing her to join Cosmic Angels. I mean, she does have a right to decide what she wants to do. And of course, I think Kid maybe is considering it, but right now she is doing things on her own at this point. Now, finally, for the last of our updates, recently CyberFight has done a press conference. Apparently, Shanjiro Takagi has stepped down as the president of the company, and they just announced another person named Yasui Okamoto, who is now the new vice president. However, he does have a bit of a relationship with the company due to the fact that he was the EVP of Cyber Agent, which was the company that owned DDT Tokyo Pro Wrestling at the time before becoming CyberFight. So there's that. And now it was later revealed that Keiji Muto has now been appointed as Noah's scouting advisor. So basically, they're going to scout new talent. And also, it was announced that Eita and Osa Sasaki are now officially with Pro Wrestling Noah as their full-time roster members, which is a good news. However, this one has been a very thing that many people. Now, I'm sure many of you will think it's great. Others will say this is a bad idea. The president has said that he wants to strengthen relationships with WWE. Now, the English channel of Pro Wrestling Noah said this. I don't like it. Naomichi Marufuji is looking forward to it. I mean, some people may not like what's going on, that this is happening. So, look, guys, we know that Japan is not very WWE bandwagon at this moment because they pay attention to what happened in the UK. But we'll see what happens. Because we know WWE are trying to pick up allies in Japan. So that is one thing we do know. But there are those that explain that maybe the reason they're saying that is because Pro Wrestling Noah has struggled financially. And I think they're looking for not only a partnership, but maybe someone who can help them out financially. And I think maybe that was it. But I don't know. But we'll see what happens down the road with these guys. But as of right now, I think we are done with our news updates. And of course, we are done with our reviews. So I say let's just call it a day and end it right here. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you know, we have Ring of Honor and TNA happening. But we also got day 4 of the Best of the Super Juniors by New Japan Pro Wrestling. Much like what I did on this episode, we will focus only on the B block matches. So we'll pay attention to that mostly. Now, if there's any other wrestling shows that I haven't seen yet, we'll see what happens from here on out. But as of right now, we'll just leave things as it is and end it just right there. So as of now, I will say this. I will see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.